Welcome to Something to Talk About from the Bainbridge Island Senior Community Center. I'm Reed Price, and with me today is Andy Meyer, who is with the AARP Speakers Bureau. We're going to talk about fraud and how veterans are particularly susceptible for some kinds of fraudsters. So we'll get to that in just a moment. But first, I want to acknowledge that we are meeting on the ancestral homeland of the Puget Sound Coast Salish people. And here on Bainbridge Island, the Suquamish people, the people of the clear salt water, who have been here since time immemorial. We honor them, and we are learning from them about stewardship of these lands and waters. And check us out on Friday. We're going to be talking with members of local tribes, including the Suquamish, about Fish Wars, a documentary about the 1970s Bolt decision that changed fisheries in this area very much and continues to present challenges for the tribes and the states to work together. But today, as I said, we're going to talk about veterans and fraud. I'd like to thank Fieldstone Communities of Bainbridge Island for sponsoring Something to Talk About. Find out about their independent living, assisted living, and memory care. They're located up on Rolling Bay. To learn more, call Celia or Jamie at 206-594-1010. 206-594-1010. Andy, thank you very much for agreeing to meet with us today. You're part of a core of speakers for the AARP. Tell us a little bit about that before we get started, if you don't mind.
Sure. So AARP has a group of people in Washington State that provide presentations about a number of things. Fraud is one of them. Cybersecurity is one. All about AI. There are probably 6 or 7 others that are around caregiving and sort of around staying healthy, staying involved in the community as we all age. And I think on the AARP website, you can see a whole number of them. And if your community is interested in them, we are always happy to see if we can arrange to have someone give a talk about it.
Thank you. So you are up to date on this issue of fraud that focuses on vets. Tell us about that. I'll let you go ahead with your presentation.
Sure. Just a little bit about me. I've been a AARP volunteer for about 5 years. I was a specialist on the Fraud Watch Network for 2 years. I've been a speaker for about 3. And I come from spent my entire career in first in computer design, computer engineering, and then for the last 10 years in security research. Kind of a little bit different focus, but very similar. So I spent a lot of time working around these things for quite a while. And so this talk is going to be specifically about, AARP has a talk about fraud and cybersecurity, but this one is focused specifically on the veterans subset of that, because it really does affect veterans in a way that's well beyond what everyone else gets to endure through it. Let's see if I can successfully move these slides forward. There we go. Oh my, oh boy. Just a little bit about why AARP. Of AARP's 38 million members, about 6 million are active duty or veterans. The AARP puts actually a fair amount of time and effort in surveying, and not only is there a Fraud Watch Network, but there's also a lot of data collection being done by AARP. So we have a pretty broad view of what's going on, and we see trends pretty early. And we see about that veterans and military families are about 40% more likely than civilians to lose money on frauds and scams, which is, even normal civilians have a really high number of frauds. So that's a pretty scary number. And about 80% of vets and military adults are scammed directly because of their military or veteran benefits. So there's a whole group of people that are specifically focused on veterans and active duty military. And so today, talk a little bit about the scams targeting veterans, a little bit about staying a step ahead. And it's really going to be focusing just on the veterans part of it. There are a number of other things that if you're interested. We have other talks on just basically cybersecurity and fraud, which would be for everyone. This is kind of in addition. And we'll point out to some helpful resources. Um, Getting a handle on the size of the issue. This slide deck is a little bit old. It was dated in 2022, and in 2022, there was approximately $414 million stolen from veteran and military families. I know the 2023 number is approximately 470 million, and this goes up fast. So I don't have 2024 numbers, but I guarantee they're higher than this. The median, not media loss, the median loss is $760 per incident. Civilian median loss is about $650 per incident. So you see, it's a little bit higher, but that's that's the median. So that's, half below, but the real problem is half of that above. And just a couple resources. For veterans specifically, there is a webpage, aarp.org Vets Fraud Center, where there's you'll get some of the latest data. And there is a alert handbook, a watchdog alert handbook for veterans specifically. And that will list the top military veteran service related scams and what to do about them. And that gets updated. In fact, I think it's significantly more up to date than this presentation. And there's also, if you're ever, gee, is this a fraud? Hey, I just got something. I don't quite know what to do. What's going on? The Fraud Watch Network is always around. And it's not just to report suspected fraud, scam and fraud, but it's also to ask questions. Was this a fraud? Or if it was a fraud, what do I do? What are the steps? Who should I contact? Give me a list of all the things I want to do in order to, one, stop this fraud, and two, protect myself going forward.
So
And one of
that
the
that network hotline number, 877-908-3360, 877-908-3360.
Thank you. Yes, and that one is always around, and you don't need to be an AARP member, and you don't need to be we claim to be a retired person, but you can be anybody, any age, any location. We'll handle it. And then back to the handbook, it'll have some information on Operation Protect Veterans, and for people who have been really seriously hit. It can sometimes be life devastating. And there's an online peer support group that is run by AARP for emotional recovery from fraud. And for people who have lost life savings, for people who lost a large amount of money, that can be helpful to sort of work through the emotional challenges of that. And so that is also available, and you can find out about it again at the website aarp.org/Vets Fraud Center. And a little bit more about that same handbook. It does highlight specific scams and delivery, basically, and a set of tips on how to avoid being taken in by them for military service folks. And I think the only thing I'll point out is it also shares resources for military families as well. But it's a fairly complete book, and you can get it from the AARP website. So enough of the sales pitch on the handbook. Let's talk a little bit about top scams facing veterans. There is a operation in AARP called Fighting Fraud with Operation Protect Veterans. It's a collaboration between the AARP Fraud Watch Network and the U.S. Postal Service. Launched in 2017 on Veterans Day, and it's basically focused on raising awareness of con artists that are specifically targeting former and current military members. It identifies top scams, frauds, and identity theft. And again, it's in the handbook, but I think again there's a fair amount of focus on trying to provide some level of protection for vets around this. Amongst that, I think the things we've mentioned are, I'm not sure if they probably didn't get mentioned yet. but it's a remarkable number. Veterans and military adults are 40% more likely to lose money in scams than civilians. And even more surprising to me, given how many of these are going on, 80% of veterans and military adults are targeted by scams related to their military service or veterans benefits. That's on top of, I'm pretty sure it's 100% of people are targeted for general fraud. So it's a very large number of veteran specific frauds, and it's already on top of a very large number and with huge losses of just the general population in the US.
And because it seems like it's more targeted exactly to who you are, you're more vulnerable to fall for it in a way without being, I mean, it's they're spending a lot more attention trying to get at you than you are thinking about them.
Right. And there are a number of reasons, and we'll talk about some of the top scams, why vets are particularly vulnerable because they use services that are somewhat easy to sort of manipulate. And in fact, here's the list of the top ones. Um, of the veterans who have reported lost money, so that's just the ones who reported. The number one is lump sum for VA benefits. Any number of companies are trying to offer you a lump sum, and some very large fraction of them are not real. Updated military records, we'll talk about that in a minute. Donation to veteran charities, we'll talk about that one as well. Reduce your taxes owed. That's probably everyone, but there are also military specific scams on that one. Drug assistance and education paid for. So every one of these are all things that veterans specifically are likely to be looking for at some point or another, and therefore there are scammers who are more than happy to go and try to offer phony services for those services for that. Um, Within that, the service specific scams are going to be donate to veterans charities, 58%. Home loan mortgage rates, 48%. Free medical equipment. Now we're going down into really focused scams at this point. Free medical equipment, government programs with benefits, cremation and burial discounts, RX drug assistance. The good thing about these specifically is that they're going to tend to be lower dollar value, but nonetheless still fairly significant. And these are the ones that are, the most common of the specific scams. And to give you a breakdown, this one is interesting. This is more along the line of scams in general. And what are the percentage of veterans that are reporting losses versus civilians? And it's pretty remarkable. It's sometimes a factor of two. So a grandparent scam, that's where you get a call that, something happened to your grandparents. Can you please, usually it's a call, it's made to fake somebody. They need help and they need cash immediately. Send money now. And one of the problems, of course, with military is you're often not in the country, you're somewhere else, which means you're particularly susceptible to this. Tech support scam. Veterans are a little bit more likely to be targeted, but I think that's a very broad general one. IRS imposter scam. Again, veterans a little bit more, but that's just a general scam that's going around everywhere. Fixed credit rating. I'm not sure why veterans are targeted at almost twice the rate, but they are. Credit card scams, again, not almost twice the rate. And phishing. And phishing scams are one that we don't really address here, but all of these scams are now getting harder and harder to identify. AI has a remarkable ability of every single thing known about you. AI can now take that and use it to target you for a scam, specifically taking all of the information that they're able to pick up about you and having an email or a text or a phone call looking like it's coming from somebody in the know, and they are able to automatically capture enough information to give you a very personalized, very realistic looking story about why they need your money.
And you have to be aware that they can even use AI to create visual or audio lookalikes or soundalikes. So if you get a call from me asking for money, call me back before you give it, because because somebody could be pretending to be me or your grandson or your granddaughter or your best friend by taking some information, a little bit of a soundbite or a picture, and faking it, and then and it's of course, you mentioned, Andy, that in the grandparent scam, what happens is you get a call that says that from ostensibly from a grandchild, not, but you think it is. And you're worried about them, and there's a moment that you have to act quickly. And that acting quickly is when you disengage your rational brain and start to respond before you know it. And then you realize maybe I didn't really know who I was talking to.
And that's one of the things we'll talk about a little bit of the slow down. Anytime anyone wants money from you, slow down. One of the other things I'll mention on this one, as you talked about the recording of voice and audio, don't talk on the phone to someone that you don't really know for sure, because your audio can be recorded as well and used against your family. You can become the one who is now talking to someone via AI. So if you don't know who it is on the phone, hanging up is a really good approach. If they've identified themselves, you can go to the website, you can go to a phone number that you know and call back yourself to find out what's going on. But
Even better than hanging up might be not picking up. Now that we have phones that can take voice messages for us pretty easily, um, just wait, see who it is before you answer.
Good point. And I'll just mention this because one of the common things is when you're looking at caller ID, don't believe it. Caller ID can be faked. Email headers can be faked. Who is calling you, texting you, emailing you? You don't really know for sure. Even when you get an email from a .gov or you get a text from a phone number that doesn't mean it's actually from that person. So, how scammers target veterans. In fact, we just talked about that a little bit. When you receive a phone call, an email, or a text from an official claiming to be from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs or the Social Security Administration, neither of which I believe call you very often at all, if ever. I would expect letters in the mail first. But at any rate, anytime you get text, email, phone call, don't believe it. As I just said, don't believe who it's from. Use your contact information that you already have, not what came in the text or the email, and go and contact that department directly yourself so that you actually know that you're talking to the department that you want to be talking to. This is such a common thing of the police department is calling, the IRS is calling, the whoever is calling. Most of them, if it's real, they don't call. They either send you a letter or they show up at your door, depending on the situation. So how scammers request money, or how they, sorry, target veterans. They will request something from you. They may request money directly, or they want information about you, your social security number, any other kind of identification numbers, and they'd love to get them through phone, email, or text because those can be done from anywhere in the world, and it's very convenient from their viewpoint. They might include hyperlinks in texts or emails. You can click on this, it'll take you something. I will show you later on how to correctly read a hyperlink to see if it is even remotely legitimate. But recognize that most of them, when you're getting texts or emails, at least what I see is most of them are your toll bill is overdue. Please go and click on this and send me some money. Yeah, I'll get right on that. And the third thing to look for is upfront payment in exchange for, here it says VA health services. I would actually make that more general. Upfront payment for services is a good reason to be cautious. For many, many services, that is not really appropriate. You should be getting a service first and then getting a bill. Anytime you see any of these three, requesting money, giving a hyperlink, or we want money first, be aware, slow down. Are you sure? Contact somebody, go do a review, go somewhere else and find out, what does that look like? You may remember way about 8 or 9 slides back where one of the more common scams was for service records. And just to point out, veterans never pay for their own service records. If you are being asked to pay for them, guess what? You are talking to the wrong group. So don't believe it for a minute. One of the other ones is a benefits buyout scam, offering cash up front for future disability or pension payments. There are legitimate organizations that provide this service. What we will say is be very, very careful, because this is obviously a wonderful place for a scam, because we're suddenly talking about a significant amount of money, and they're usually at a fraction of the value of the benefits. So to give you a number, there's a benefits.va.gov/pension website where you can go look at what actually is there. And the website is benefits.va.gov/pension. And the critical part there, it's va.gov before the slash. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit later. That says that is actually a legitimate website, or the phone number for that is, and that's for the VA benefits, is 800-827-1000. Continuing on, fake charities. There are any number of charities they will call, and they will ask you for a donation to veterans or military related causes, but also to police and to fire and to basically, if you look in the newspaper and you see some terrible thing going on, there will undoubtedly be any number of scammers that are quick to start asking for money for it. A lot of these are legal in the sense that if you donate $100, about 1 or 2 cents will actually go to the organization that they say they're going to, which makes them a legal collection, but you really don't want to be going there. The two places that are known for looking for, rating charities. So if you want to donate to some place, that's wonderful. Go to either CharityWatch.org or CharityNavigator.org, and they will rate every charity, and they will look at how much of the money that you give them ends up providing to the cause that you're interested in, and are they reputable, and have they done tax reporting for the last number of years. And so they give a rating of, I think Charity Watch does like stars and Charity Navigator does percentage, but they give you a way of asking, is this in fact a legitimate charity? Because for pretty much anything you want to donate to, there is a charity to do it. Get a high quality one to do it so that your money actually goes to work on the cause you're interested in. So again, that's CharityWatch.org and CharityNavigator.org will tell you about the quality of any particular charity that you might want to be interested in donating to. Continuing on with the scams, employment scams targeting veterans, and in fact, targeting civilians as well. Veterans lose on average just under $2,000, and military spouses a little bit below that, $1,800, twice as much money as civilians of about $1,000. If this is becoming more and more common because there's more and more off-site, remote work available, and so you can be offered a job and you need to supply a credit card, or you need to supply somehow making some payment, or referring to some, previously undisclosed federal jobs, i.e. a federal job that if you were to ask about it is not available, but they're claiming it is. In any case, there'll be any number of ways that they are asking you for money, usually upfront, possibly to purchase equipment, things of that sort. To my knowledge, no company that's looking to hire you is going to be asking you for money. It kind of goes the other way around. I'm not aware of any legitimate companies doing that. That doesn't mean they don't exist, but to my knowledge, companies give you the equipment you need, not you pay for the equipment you need. That may not always be true, but if it's for remote work, I would be very suspicious if they're asking for money up front.
Yes, certainly. That's one of those slow down flags.
Thank you. Yes. And talk to friends, get reviews. This is where Google or your favorite search engine can be your friend. The more information you have about them, ask questions. And yeah, ask first, spend money second. Moving scams. This one is obviously particularly easy to target for military families because you have to move a lot. And the common one there is hostage loads. The moving company comes in, they take all of your furniture, they take all of your things, they take them all on a truck, and then the conversation starts about what's it going to take to get it back. Um, every moving company must register with the U.S. Department of Transportation, and there's a big long website here where you can look to see if the particular company that you're talking to is registered, and be aware, by the way, that just because they say they are a company doesn't necessarily mean they are the company if you are not talking to them in person. I can read that out, but I'm not sure
Well,
that.
I'll put it in the, for people who are listening, I'll put it in the description box below this
Perfect.
audio or video.
Perfect, because I would not want to try to get that from reading it. Kind of long. All right. Um, So in this one, I think the next slide is also on moving. I'm going to go back to moving for just a little bit. A couple other things to think about there is um, one, if somebody is giving you oh, it's going to cost you this much to move, and they didn't come to look, be very suspicious because it's very hard to give an estimate on moving expenses if you don't see the place. Um, if they are purely remote, that is, you are only talking to someone via email or text or phone, you don't have a good handle on them. So make sure you know who you're talking to. My advice, find a company that's reputable, again, reference through friends or via your favorite search engine with reviews, and go to them directly to one that you know is reputable because you've done reviews on them and done a little background research on them. I'd actually say that for any company you're going to spend money with, but this one in particularly so because um, they have you over the barrel when they take your things and take off in a truck. And it makes it very hard to negotiate when they've already taken off with all of your furniture. So, and that's why it's a favored one for scammers against vets because they have to move a lot. Well, active duty. Other scams that are faced more by vets than by everyone else, healthcare scams, which is going to be drug assistance programs, durable medical equipment, identity theft, and fraud. These are everywhere, but in particular, VA phishing. So things that emails, texts, phone calls that claim to be coming from the VA. Again, get the information you need, hang up, or ignore the email, ignore the text, and contact directly. Tri-scare scams, same thing. Contact the what are there, two tri-cares depending on where you live. Contact the appropriate one directly. Always best to, oh, okay, I see there's an issue. Hang up, contact them directly, ask questions. Additional example are the special deals. These are everybody in the world gets them, particularly via phone. You know, oh, right now you'll get a 1 year for a lot less. I'll just point out most of those also involve gift cards. Gift cards are great for giving sons, daughters, nieces, nephews presents. They are awful for anything else. Anyone who asks for a gift card, you know right then and there, and this is a scam. Unless it's your son or your daughter, that's a different issue. And then GI Bill education marketing scam. Again, contact the appropriate folks directly. Always, always, always. Staying ahead of criminals. And I think this is where we run into exactly what we've already talked about. Go slow. Any scammer will try very hard to get you into either a frenzy of fear or excitement. If they can do that, they are winning because, oh man, this deal is going to go away right now if I don't give them my credit card information right now. That tends not to be true. And similarly, if I don't respond and do what they want right now, I'm in major league trouble. That also tends not to be true, especially when it came via a text, an email, or a phone call. Go slow, slow down, ask questions, do research, contact them directly. Um, if you can, particularly around investments, this is another one that's, very common of the right now you can buy this at this price. If it's in investments, you can go to investor.gov. If it's some kind of an organization, do a Google search, organization name review. And I don't mean Google particularly, your favorite search engine, whatever that may happen to be. Um, and learn how to say no. Um, you can develop a refusal script, as this says, to stop unwanted interactions. I use the hang up for that. It works great. That's my recommendation.
Yeah,
Uh,
or if on your phone you can block the text message.
you can block the text message. It will help you. It won't really help you because anytime it's a scammer, they're using IP, VoIP texting. So,
So they don't even know what text number they're calling you on
nope. And furthermore, they're changing minute by
every
minute.
time.
Right. So,
It is satisfying though.
it is satisfying. That's right. And then, in a lot of them, one of the first things to look at, if you do get a text, look at the number it came from. If it starts with a plus 2 digits, that means it's from out of the country. And what I notice is that everyone who's telling me that I owe toll bills, they're all from out of the country. So they're always +63, wherever that is, some number. And that makes it really easy to just breeze right by it. Um, but a lot of them will still be normal 10 digit with an area code numbers. Um, Occasionally get text from 5 digit numbers. Those are special codes as they're usually owned by some company that has registered it. You shouldn't be getting scams from them. If you are, report that number because those tend to be a little bit more hard to get. Where the 10 digit numbers, everybody can get, you can get for 25 bucks a month, they'll give you rotating phone numbers, which you can use freely. Robocalls and solicitations. I guess we've just been talking about that a little bit. Illegal robocalls. 58 billion received in 2019. That is 6 years ago. I can't imagine what that number is now, but I guarantee it's not less. 44% were scam calls. I'm guessing that number is going the wrong way too. There is a organization called the National Do Not Call Registry, and you can go to donotcall.gov or call 888-382-1222 and ask to be put on a list of calls that you are not, that basically that's more for spam. You're not allowed to be called, and reputable companies will actually pay attention to that. I can tell you via personal experience, the scammers really don't care. It'll slow down the noise, but it won't stop the scams. Scammers are like, well, if you can find me, you're going to sue me for a lot of other things. So doesn't help. And you can opt out of mail at optoutprescreen.com. Again, I've never seen this actually have any reasonable effect, but you can try. DMAchoice.org. And I say that, but in fact, legitimate companies will pay attention to these and not spam you. The scammers don't care. So something to consider, I think they help. I don't get texts from legitimate companies, but I sure get texts from the people that are trying to get my money.
Yeah, I do feel as though the maybe because of the price of postage, the mail direct mail has dropped quite a bit in my lifetime. It's not as it's not as much of a waste of paper as it used to be.
Right. I think that's right. It's just a lot cheaper to reach people via text now. Um, but it doesn't interrupt your life. It's not, dinging your phone. So you want to send me something by mail, I can move it over to my recycle bin. Um, so I never view that as a problem. Calls are different. Speaking of calls, I got to shut this thing up. It's somebody's having a field day with me. Protecting your identity. This one really matters, and it matters more and more now because every piece of information that scammers can get about you will be used by their AI to scam you. That's even your family members, your address. All I mean, your address is kind of visible, is publicly available, but the more they have on you, the better their AI is going to use to make something that looks very realistic. So one, shred documents with any level of private or sensitive information. Anytime you get, a prescription, a credit card bill, anything that's got your name and some kind of an account number on it, that's a perfect thing to be shredding. Your name and your address, it's kind of public information. That alone is probably not worth shredding, but that's up to you. Don't share information with people who contact you. And from my viewpoint, part of that information is your voice. Monitor your bills and your financial accounts. And that has two possible things. You can get what's called an annual credit report, which is and they're showing a space in there. It's actual annualcreditreport.com with no space. It's all one word, and it is no longer annual. You can now do it monthly, I believe, and it will give you your credit information. So if anyone is trying to open up credit in your name or put a loan in your name or anything like that, that will show up there. There's also something you can get, which is called a credit freeze, which you can get from each of the three credit bureaus. Let's see if I can come up with all three: Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. If you contact each one of them, you can get a credit freeze. And that's, in my view, sort of the gold standard of nobody can get your credit information. Nobody's going to open up a card in your name. Nobody's going to go and take out a loan because they can't get your credit information to make sure that you're a good risk. You can contact each of those three, that's Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax, and ask for a credit freeze. It's free. And it means that nobody, including you, can get your credit information, which means when you want to get a new telephone or you want to get a new credit card, you need to ask which credit union they're going to use, contact that credit union, and you get what's called a temporary lift. And you say, okay, for 2 weeks, lift my credit freeze on that particular one, get your new whatever it is you're getting, and then the credit freeze goes back in place. From my
And
view,
we don't spend a lot of time. You spend a lot less time buying things on credit that need that kind of check than you want to leave yourself vulnerable to somebody getting in there. The other thing I would like to mention about these services is that they all, when you sign up, try to offer you some sort of a paid add-on or monitoring, and they'll do it afterwards actually because they have their email, so they'll try a couple times afterwards to ask you to sign up for this or that. You don't need to get the information. You can just go through the process and be careful not to say yes to anything that says, can I charge you?
right. Thank you. Yeah, just say no is a great motto for all of those. They try to make money. They don't like that you're putting a credit freeze in place because they can't make money on your information anymore. They'll try to make it on you directly, but this is a freeze. They have to legally provide you the free service, and you don't need to buy anything else. Um, some other things are around passwords and using your computer. Um, if you're using computer particularly for banking or for taxes or for anything that is sensitive, make sure you are using randomly created and unique passwords, a different password for every single site. Um, this is where password managers can be a good thing, and we talk more about that in the cybersecurity and fraud presentation. Set up two-factor authentication. That is a second device that's needed in order to verify you are who you are. I will just say that SMS and text is two-factor authentication, but it's weak. It's very easy for someone to, if there's a reason for targeting you, it is no problem at all for them to see your texts. So if you're doing anything like crypto exchanges or anything like that, SMS is not sufficient. Review privacy and update settings in every social media. And not only do they change often, but every social media site wants very much for you to share everything and anything and makes it a big, long task to make it private and go through the effort to go make it private.
So some time ago we had a Zoom podcast with John Chen about the alternative to the SMS, the text second factor authentication. There are a number of authenticator devices, or not devices, but programs that you can put on your phone, like from Microsoft and Google. And I'll put a link to that in the description when I post this as well.
And those are really good for banking. If you're going beyond banking, then you should, or even for banking, I'm paranoid, so a security key is better still. But either an authenticator, and there are any number of them out there, or a security key, both of those are far superior to text verification. Update antivirus software. In fact, make sure I'll go one beyond that. Make sure that your apps and your OS are up to date. Every operating system, Windows, Mac OS, Android, iOS, they all get regular updates, and a significant fraction of the modifications in each update is security enhancements. There are some, it's around 20 to 30 what are called 0 days discovered every single day. That is ways to break into the latest and greatest version of every single OS there is. That's why they're updating frequently, to go and close the ones that are found. And that goes for your apps as well. Make sure they stay up to date. And then the last bullet here, I tend to disagree with. It says that risks are greater when using public Wi-Fi. I will say, I spent a fair amount of time in this one. Using a VPN as opposed to public Wi-Fi is great for privacy. Making sure anytime that you go to a website that the little lock icon on the sort of the top of your browser is showing, and that you've typed in the correct address. So you want to make sure you go to www.citibank, not cittibank.com, for instance. Whatever bank, whatever organization, make sure you typed it in right, and make sure you've got the lock icon. And if you've got those two, you have a secure connection to that particular organization. And that's where I want to talk briefly about reading domain names. This top one is one that I got not too long ago. https://mass.gov. Oh, mass.gov. It must be legitimate. Hyphen whatever that is, .win./us. Is that a bad domain? Yes. Is it a scam? Yes. They would like me to send them money. Don't trust the text. If it's a text message, if it's on a computer, you can take your cursor and hover over it. If it's on a phone, you can sort of put your finger on the link and just hold it there. Don't click it, just put it on the link, and it should show you where that link goes to. And you're looking for something very specific. You're going to see if it's a legitimate site, you're going to see an https://. My sympathies for if you are not able to look at this on a picture. After the first // there's going to be all kinds of stuff until the next slash, and you'll see that slash in red here. Now you need to go back. The top level domain where it says TLD, that is the first thing you want to look for. What's that top level domain? It could be .com or .net would be very common. .org would be very common. .gov is a special one. That means it's actually a government organization, and that's actually fairly secure because you can't get one unless you are a government organization. I have a .com, I can get a .net, I cannot get a .gov. And then the delimiter is that period. So then there's going to be domain.tld. Those are the only two things you care about. It'll be google.com. It will be charitynavigator.org. It'll be irs.gov. After that slash, there's going to be a directory, a subdirectory, all kinds of stuff in there, and it could be crazy long. Don't care. Before that domain, there could be all kinds of stuff there too. Those are called subdomains. It can be crazy long. So a good scammer may very well try to give you this big, huge, long link just so you think you can't read it. You only have a couple characters to look for. You look for that slash, find a top level domain, find the domain in front of that. Everything else is noise. And that's how you can ask, where is this actually going? So if you look at that top one again, where it says mass.gov dash etcoa.win slash. Well, the top level domain is .win. I have no idea what that is, but I don't care because I'm not going to deal with any company that uses that. And the stuff in front of it is gov-etcoa. That's the domain. I have no idea what it is. I don't care because it's not mass.gov. It's a critical point. If you can read a domain successfully and you check it before you click, 99% of your problems are going to go away. So look to see what the domain is before following the link. And some free resources to fight fraud. Again, there's AARP.org, Vets Fraud Center. That will give you a pointer to the handbook. It will give you a pointer to sort of the latest and greatest information on the frauds that are out there, focused specifically on vets. The AARP Fraud Watch Network. You can go to the website. I'm not sure what's on there, but I'm sure there's stuff there. But if you have a question, that's their helpline and that's their phone number. Repeat it one more time. It was earlier, 877-908-3360. If you think you've been targeted, if you're worried about being targeted, if you want to just understand it, call them and ask.
Well, those are very useful. It looks like you have a couple other suggestions.
Couple more chit chat things. I'm going to go through them kind of quick. Safeguard your social security number, your DT214, any other sensitive documents. Protect your personal information online and via the mail. Don't put your phone number in your social media. Make anytime they need your phone number, anytime they need your birthday, anytime they need anything, make it up. My birthday is different on every single organization that I'm involved with. And just they don't need it. Monitor your bills and your financial accounts, check your credit report, and keep your personal identification pins and passwords private. And I think that's everything of interest that we have here. I think there's other than a little blurb down below. So I would like
And
to.
it's probably your birthday somewhere. So happy birthday, Andy.
Thank you. You got the date right. Imagine that.
One of the dates, right? Any comments, Marcy or Barbara? Yeah, Barbara, go ahead. Just unmute, please.
You said early on that you partner with the U.S. Postal Inspector. How do they help you monitor or prevent fraud?
Well, independent of AARP, the U.S. Postal Service actually puts a great deal of effort into monitoring and preventing fraud. They have their own detectives, they have their own research organizations, they have their own police department, well, the equivalent of the police department. I don't know exactly what the AARP and Postal Service collaboration looks like. As far as I know, it's mostly data and information passing. Who's seen what kinds of fraud and make sure it's reported back and forth in both directions.
Okay,
But if
thank
you
you.
see Postal Service fraud, they want to know. Report it.
I think it's called
Then I had
Operation Protect Veterans, I think, is the effort. And it's collaborative. So we can look that up afterwards too.
I just would like to add a comment of appreciation. My father was in the military, and I just can't imagine how vulnerable my mother would have been if we had been in this age of digital invasion and harassment all the time.
Right. And
So this is a really important service that you provide, and I appreciate that.
And I think that's particularly, for everyone, for vets even more, but for everyone, it's being aware of what's going on and um, doing what you can to protect not only yourself but your family, especially especially for older people. There's just the digital world can be a little confusing for older people, and it's hard to navigate.
Yeah,
And
and I would just add on that that if you're interested, if you have somebody wants to talk to you about either your benefits um or your retirement or your mortgage or your reverse mortgage or anything that's dealing with larger sums of money, you're welcome to try to stop by and talk to me. I'm not an expert, but I'm somebody you could ask just to sort of be a sounding board. And that's a good idea to find somebody who you just feel comfortable checking with before you
Mhm.
make a move, because that's when the little flags might start to fly. You might say, "Oh, yeah, that is a little weird, isn't it?"
Why do you think that veterans are targeted more often than civilian population?
excellent question. I wonder that too when I look at these numbers. I suspect in some respects there are additional. So, from my security background, you look for what are called attack surfaces, which are groups of areas where individual vectors are used for. The civilians world has 5 or 6 common attack surfaces. Vets have another one. Um, they move, they have a hierarchy and a structure that probably both allow for another set of vectors. Clearly, the having to move and having to report to some, you know, me as a civilian, my boss is somebody nobody else knows, and it's, between me and them in a company that nobody really can see. I'm guessing that for military, it's a little more. You have the VA, you have these big organizations that are part of this structure that are more visible to external people that make it more easy to attack. That'd be
Well,
my
and
guess.
and the other thing we talked about at the beginning before we started recording, Barbara, was that you have a situation right now where something's in the news. The Veterans Administration is under significant reorganization and downsizing, and a lot of questions are being asked. Andy was saying that the scammers are always reading the news about a day or two before you are, and they're coming up with creative ways to try to spin it into something that might make you scared. So if you're thinking that you're going to, maybe be planning to move into Retzel retirement home, and they know that you're a veteran in the Kitsap area, they might start to make calls to say you need to buy in now or do something now so that you save your space. Uh, Undoubtedly a scam.
Yeah, and I think that's only going to make it worse because the numbers that I showed are from before the level of the, the upheaval in the VA. The one thing I want to get back to was Reed's comment about talk to people. As a When I was involved directly with the phone calls on the Fraud Watch network, the hardest call for me to deal with was what's called the romance scam. It's the scam where, romance scam is a little bit unfortunate because it has a sort of a negative connotation. It's really anytime there's sort of a personal connection that's built up over time via text, email, phone calls, remote.
Right.
Uh,
Friendship scam might be a better name
Friendship
for it.
scam would be a better name for it. Thank you. Um, they are they are the scams that one tend to have the largest financial impact, and they tend to go over a long period of time. There's usually 6 months ish of building up a relationship before the first financial ask shows up. So that there's a very strong emotional bond with the scammer. They're the hardest to deal with because you're suddenly asking someone to break a very strong emotional bond. And in fact, it's a lot like, um, I used to be a domestic violence advocate, and there's a lot of similarity there of take the victim and isolate them. Don't have them talk to people. So one of the things I would ask is talk to your friends. Have you met somebody new? Have you met them in person? um, find out about those emotional connections before they become so strong that they would rather break the relationship with you than than to break the relationship with their scammer. It is the toughest one out there. And the single most effective thing I can think of is to talk to people you know and ask them about relationships, ask them about how are you doing, who have you met, can I meet them? Whatever you can do to sort of break those before they become strong. That tends to be the older crowd, although certainly not exclusively so. But often older single people are more vulnerable to this kind of a scam.
Although as more and more of us at all ages are living online more, this becomes, a connection that we feel is real. And if the other person is faking it, you can definitely be taken advantage of. Well, that's a lot we learned today, Andy. Thank you very much for taking the time. I appreciate it. I appreciate AARP's Speakers Bureau, and we will keep an eye out for other presentations that might be useful to people.